Just because I'm a winemaker doesn't mean I have to be a critic all the time.
Oh, this is fun and it's beautiful. You do it because you love it. And if you don't love it unconditionally and stupidly, and you're not crazy passionate about it, you won't last.
You know, to stay out of the vineyard, I only have the shotgun for the bore, and I'm thinking, great.
Turning sugar into alcohol is not really rocket science.
You think your car depreciates quickly. Don't hold a candle to what barrels do.
A lot of people don't realize Sonoma County is 1 million acres. Makes us about the size of Rhode Island as a state.
I mean, in my youth, my first couple of vintages, the crazy part was being lucky we were alive still.
The really cool thing about wine is it swims in the stream of history and civilization and everything else.
I worked 14 hours the day before I went into labor. I was determined to get most of that Chardonnay in.
We say, so drink the wine. That's kind of our motto here at Life Between the Vines. One of the cool things about wine, besides drinking it, is the people you drink it with. And the stories you hear and tell with wine all come together to make every bottle unique. Discovering and tasting wine shouldn't be a homework assignment. And we believe that the people who are closest to wine have the best stories. So open a bottle.
And welcome to podcast number 210. This week we feature David Pramuk of Robert Biale Vineyards in Napa Valley. When two sons of Napa Valley make wine, it's an obvious formula for success. David Pramuk was born in Napa Valley, as was his business partner, Robert Biale. Oddly enough, it's not very common to find Napa Valley natives as winery owners. We met up with Dave in September at the winery to talk about its history, which is certainly both interesting and entertaining. But in the end, they let the black chicken do the talking. I'm not here with Robert Biale today. I'm here with David Pramuk. And I did pronounce it correctly.
Pramuk.
Pramuk. Mm-hmm. I got it right, because once again, I got to say it, he's a Czechoslovakian boy.
That's right.
And I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Eastern Slavic heritage, I'm finding out, yeah.
Yeah. And we are at Robert Biale Winery. We are here in, this would be not Oakville. Are we Oakville?
We are in the northern outskirts of Napa. The city of Napa, between Napa and Yountville.
That's right, because we're very close.
And in the Oak Knoll district of Napa Valley.
That's right.
Appalachian Oak Knoll, yeah.
Well, thanks for being here today. How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm excited about harvest. Yeah. 2016 is looking great. We are really, don't want to jinx it, but wow, what perfect conditions we've had this summer, and the fruit looks really good.
Yeah, that's what we've heard, and that's exciting because, God, again, I don't want to jinx it either, but you guys are really on a streak.
Yeah. We have general conditions of warmer winters and cooler summers. And with cooler summers, we have that nice, long, slow ripening, good flavor and color development, and that's where the intensity of Zinfandel comes from. And it's how we measure ourselves against other producers in the warmer climates that the Oak Knoll district and these cool mountain locations we work with kind of bring out a lot of that natural vibrance and intensity of the Zinfandel. And this could be a special year, yeah.
That'd be great.
It's exciting, yeah.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about specifically because this is a Zinfandel winery, and you do Petite Syrah. And tell me what else you do, just so I can get that documented.
Oh, there's little tiny portions of Barbera and Sangiovese, a couple of fun blends that we do, basic black, and a wine called Like Father, Like Son, and tiny amount of Rosato, which we crushed today, made from Sangiovese. And we have a small first crop out there of Greco, which is made in Greco di Tufo. It's the grape of that part of Italy and in Campania. And we think it's going to be a perfect fit for this little empty block that we had out there. We'll get some first grapes this year. We'll see how that goes.
Nice. And while we're talking about you being Czechoslovakian, of course, the winery is of Italian influence.
That's right. But Biale is an old Italian name in Napa. And they hail from northern Italy up in the Piemonte. But through some research, I found out that it's also a Polish word that means white.
Really?
Yeah. So when you look at my homeland, in Slovakia, and here in Poland, you see the word Biale show up here and there. I said, Bob, are we related?
Well, people traveled, people did things. Things happened. We don't want to go into detail. It's great, though, because Napa Valley has such an original Italian influence here. Of course, you have the Mondavis and so many other families. And it's interesting that you're going down this path with Zinfandel because obviously a great grape for this area, but not a lot of growers making it.
Yeah, we've put ourselves into a niche. Napa Valley, Cab is king. I've worked with a lot of Cab over my career, and Bob Biale's made a lot of Cab. But the heritage that we're part of is the Zinfandel tradition. And when we started the Biale project, it was a chance to position ourselves as like the saviors, the keepers of the flame of the old heritage tradition of Petite Syrah and Zinfandel. And we're 25 years into it, and 26 crush happening starting yesterday, and I guess we're doing something right.
Nobody stopped you yet. I won't be the one.
We love working with it. It's interesting. It's exciting. It's hard. These old head-trained vines require a lot of personal attention. Hardly mechanized or set up for ease of work. It's the old hand farming, vine by vine type of winemaking, and Bob's up for the challenge. He grew up in those old vines, and he knows how to handle them better than anybody. And
keeps you humble.
Yeah, and hard work will keep you humble. That's right.
Exactly. Well, I want to talk about Bob, and we got to get to it, so let's get to it. Many people who visited here, and I hope a lot of people have, because this is a great place to come visit, will see the signs about the black chicken. And first time I saw it, it cracked me up. I didn't even know anything about it. I just thought, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. And of course, then I got paranoid. What, is it going to come out of nowhere and attack me? So tell us about the black chicken.
Well, black chicken, it's a great story, and it's one of the best stories in all my wine storytelling career. Working in tasting rooms around Napa Valley and working in sales, marketing, PR, communications, and you hear a lot of there's a lot of quaint stories. But I'm telling you, it's about the sweetest that I've heard, and it all came out one day after we had started the Biale project. It was a Biale family winery-based project, sourcing grapes from the old family vineyard over here, about a mile from where we are, and Aldo Biale was on the porch with us, and we're talking about the old days. I'd come out of this, environment, or I was in the environment at that time of telling stories, selling wine. I had also a background in newspaper business. I'm a newspaper guy, I love stories. And he comes out with a story about the old days, which was really remarkable. And that when he was a kid, his dad had died. And this is 1942, when he was 13 years old. He was born the day the stock market crashed in 29. Wow. So this is hard times in Napa. Yeah. And when he was a teenager, tragic circumstances, father passes away. And to make a little extra money during those hard times, he started a little side business of selling some wine along with the eggs and produce that they were selling at the time. And it was a delivery system. People get their orders in during the week, and he'd deliver on Fridays. And
a delivery system.
And Aldo said, I was selling some of the wine out of the barrels in the barn. I said, you're kidding. You had like a bootleg business? That's amazing. And he said, yeah, and I had a code name for it. It gets even better. And I said, what was that? He said, black chicken. We called it a black chicken on the party line. And in those days, people shared the phone out here in the country. And there were no secrets because people could be listening on the extension. So there's a teenage boy coming up with like a little stealthy ordering system for some jugs of homemade wine that he's delivering with the eggs. I said, Aldo, that's priceless. That's a great, authentic story. We got to do a wine called Black Chicken. He's a little hesitant at first, thinking maybe statute of limitations weren't over yet.
I didn't think of that.
So Bob and I talked him into it, and we launched Black Chicken a few years later in 1999. It was our first vintage, and it was obvious people loved the name, the story, and the wine in the bottle. Low-yielding old Zinfandel from the Biale farm that Bob takes such great care of. I mean, it was really a compelling wine, too. So what a combination of factors. So Black Chicken's become our hero, and we source most of it from our estate vineyards right here at the winery and at the Biale Ranch. And it's a unique style because it comes from this cooler section of the valley mainly, which is darker fruit. It's intense and spicy, and it's got this kind of a kind of a depth that you usually don't see in Zinfandel. I think some of that has to do with the low yields, and a lot of it has to do with this cooler climate that we pull the grapes from.
I like your Zin a lot, but I want to go back to the name again because Bob told me a story when I first met him about the phone call and the mom getting upset. Could you tell me that story? Do you remember?
Yeah, there's a little addendum.
Yes,
to
addendum,
that story.
yes.
Aldo eventually got married years later to a woman from northern Italy, and Clementina came over to the U.S. after she cleared immigration, and she didn't speak English. She didn't drive. She didn't speak English, and she had to adapt to this, this new life in Napa Valley, California. Kind of fast paced considering the village that she grew up in, and he, trusted her to run the household, wanted her to learn how to drive and speak English, but it was challenging in those days, and early on. She had to work up the nerve to pick up the phone and speak English with people. And one day a guy called and said, "Tell Aldo that I need a black chicken." And she was in her broken English. I said, "Well, we don't have the black chickens. We only have the white ones." And the guy got a little upset, actually. He said, "Would you just tell Aldo? Would you just tell Aldo what I mean?" And so Aldo, he was trying to protect Clementina, not make things too complicated for her, and eventually let her know what was going on around the house.
Let her know what was going on.
Okay, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
And she carried on that black chicken tradition with Aldo and his mother. The Nona lived with the couple and the children. And it was a family tradition, growing grapes, making Zinfandel a little bit, went out, with the eggs.
Little nudge, wink, wink.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And a sweet, true, authentic story, and which I love as a wine marketing guy because it's just that slice of old, sweet Napa farming. Sometimes with all the glitz and glamour of Napa, we forget this whole thing is based on families growing grapes, and which is hard work and humbling, as you said. And it's a real miracle that the Biales have stuck with Zinfandel all these years in the land of Cabernet here, and at such a high quality level too. I mean, there's really diligent farming, and a lot of hard work goes into that.
Yeah. Well, it's a term of endearment.
Yeah,
that's really what it is, and that's why I love seeing you wear the hat. Hopefully, our visitors will be able to, our listeners will see that. Right there, it is, the black chicken. That was nice.
And there's Aldo with the black chicken. Yeah.
With the black chicken, not the black chicken.
Not one. Yeah. Years later, I should add that here just a few years ago, the Smithsonian in Washington D.C. Kicked off a new exhibit about the history of American food and wine, and the curator who set it all up, the lady who was responsible for transporting Julia Child's kitchen to the Smithsonian piece by piece and reassembling it, asked if she could kind of work with us on gleaning some artifacts and stories from the old days. And today, Aldo's stick that was made by his father that he used to make black chicken with is hanging in the Smithsonian.
Oh, that's nice.
Behind a glass wall where Joel Peterson is featured, and to the left is Mike Gergich's valise, Warren Winiarski's notebook that he wrote the notes on for the Paris tasting Cabernet. Robert Mondavi's memorabilia is there, and there's Aldo. With a picture with his son, the black chicken stick is hanging there, and some picking boxes from the old days. It's really a nice tribute that the Smithsonian did.
Well, what an honor
for the Biales. Yeah,
that's a great honor. Well, and especially too here in America, the Italian tradition in America, what influence they left on this country, you just can't even go there. It's a monster.
Huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you. And where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in Napa. Not many of us.
No,
I was born in 1958 at Queen of the Valley Hospital, which had just opened. Actually, it's kind of a funny small town thing. Bob Biale was born at the Parks Victory Hospital across from the Buttercream Bakery.
Oh, how weird.
Over there, and his home is right in that neighborhood. But it was 1958, I think, is when they completed the Queen of the Valley Hospital, and I was born there, the 7th out of 8 kids.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and my dad was a doctor at the state hospital.
Thank God.
Yeah. Psychiatric medicine.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't mean to go there.
I think our house is something of a psych ward.
Well, it's pretty cool. I mean, growing up in a place like Napa, you have this rural setting. Of course, back then it was obviously very rural versus what it is today.
Very industrial.
Yeah, really.
Kaiser Steel and Basalt Rock were the building materials companies that supplied basically construction materials for the Bay Bridges, or Bay Bridge and Golden Gate Bridge. It was really a very blue-collar, hardworking town. And the state hospital was, I think, the biggest employer in those days.
You're talking about down here in Napa?
In the town of Napa.
Versus St. Helena.
Yeah, right. And so I grew up in Napa, and I went to St. Apollinaris Grammar School. We actually lived immediately adjacent to the school. It was Irish Catholic nuns, the Sisters of Mercy, and in my classes, Bob Biale.
Oh, funny.
And so we grew up through St. Apollinaris, and then we went to high school right across from our winery here, Justin Siena High School, and graduated in 1976.
So as a Catholic boy, can I ask you, did they have any mercy?
They were tough.
Oh, yeah,
they were tough. They did not take much from American boys.
Yes, I'm sure.
I can tell you.
Were they Italian nuns?
They're Irish.
Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be damned.
Yeah,
I probably would be, actually. I'll just cut that out of the interview.
So, it was a interesting time to grow up because Napa still hadn't hit the big time yet. It wasn't the internationally famous destination and winemaking capital that it is today. I mean, it was populated by a number of wineries. I think I added it up. It was 1970. No, I think it was the year I was born, 1958. There were like 18 or 19 wineries. Yeah. And up until 1970, the main grapes in Napa were Zinfandel and Petit Syrah.
Ironically.
And here within a relatively short period of time, it's, been catapulted to the top of the name recognition in the world of wine. It was really amazing transformation. Well,
I find it really ironic you're in the wine business and graduated in '76. There's just something kind of connected about that. But you're saying you and Bob went your separate ways.
Yeah, he went off to college in Southern California, and I went to college at Napa College and played a lot of tennis there. Practiced hard enough to make the tennis team, and actually we won a championship.
Oh, nice.
The second year I was there, but eventually transferred to Chico, and I went to school in Chico in the behavioral sciences. It was a developmental psychology degree, and
this wasn't really falling far from the family tree in a way.
Yeah, I found it very fascinating, interesting, and important and noble work that my dad did. My brother-in-law, a psychologist, and I found it very interesting, and I thought that would be a good career. But I had shortly before I graduated, I had a free period in the morning at Chico, and over in the ag department, they had a wine class. It was taught by a lady winemaker. And thought maybe I'm from Napa, I got a free period, I should take that wine class. It's over there. It caught my eye, and I could finally get it in. So I did. I took the class, and it really sparked my interest in wine. I was only 21. But really, it got me thinking. I appreciate where I'm from in Napa, and I grew up in a food and wine, beer crazy family, and so it just seemed like a good idea. But it really got me thinking about and pursuing that kind of a career.
What was your path then after that when you got into the actual career? I mean, you talked about sales and all that sort of thing.
Well, I started throwing around resumes in Napa Valley. Would have been 1981 or so in there, and sure, I got a call from Sterling Vineyards. I was only 21, and they wanted to interview me about working there part-time. And so I eventually took them up on it and took a part-time job at Sterling in 1982, working the floor, as we call it, pouring wine for people, receiving guests. I got assigned to a lot of interesting VIP guests, hosting some like celebrities and some wine, what would you call them? Just, wine experts, international wine experts and so on, and learned a lot in a short period of time. It's a really fun job, actually. But after I was there for just a few weeks, a full-time job opened up, and I accepted that, and that's how I kind of got stuck in the wine business.
Stuck?
Yeah, it was just wonderful. The growers, that you would meet these farming families, winemakers, very interesting crowd, and it was a lot of fun and challenging too, because there's so much to learn, as you know, about wine. It's like the more you know, the more you want to know.
Right.
And you really get caught up in it. So, and it was a great environment in those days for learning about wine, and really got me on that track, and never went back to behavioral science.
It's probably a good thing. Good thing for us anyways. When did you reunite with Bob?
It was around 1990. He called and he was thinking about pursuing a career in the wine business, and I called and asked me about how to get into the business. I said, Bob, you know how it works, so you know in this business. So he ended up getting a swing shift job at Behringer working crush. I think it was about 1990, and he met a guy in the cellar there. It was a talented winemaker named Al Perry, who hadn't had his moment in the spotlight yet. He was one of those guys who'd work under some really good winemakers, and including Helen Turley and Bob. I think he made that connection pretty quickly between Al and I. Al and I were old friends, and but sure enough, it was about a year later, 1990, late 1990, early 91. Bob pitched this idea to us over dinner of maybe doing a wine project. Make some wine, because his family had the grapes. And Al's a winemaker, I'm marketing, sales type, and so we formed a partnership. We called it Robert Biale Vineyards, and targeted making 400 cases of wine from the family vineyard. And that was released in 1992, and we got some great responses to it right away. We were pretty full of ourselves. Wow, they like us.
Yeah.
It was a great feeling. It was a great entrepreneurial kind of feel-good success, but it wasn't exactly a get-rich-quick scheme either. But we saw some potential of expanding that and positioning ourselves as that little caretaker of family vineyards in Napa, and especially Zinfandel. We even dabbled in Cabernet there with one little project, but we more and more focused on Zinfandel, and Bob started knocking on doors and jumping fences, and I had a friend who, at the time, was making homemade wine from an old vineyard up in St. Helena, and he said nobody was buying the grapes, and so I go to Bob and Al and I tell them, there's this vineyard up there, the Salvestrin family owns this old vineyard there, and nothing's happening with it, and it's right in our wheelhouse. And so we got talking to the Salvestrins. Of course they knew the Biales. Aldo and Ed used to deliver grapes to the same cooperative winery up valley. And so we hit it off in this idea of making a special wine from the Salvestrins old vines. And I dubbed it the Old Crane Ranch after Dr. Crane, who was one of those key founders of Napa Valley. Yeah. And wow, what an opportunity. Yeah, when you consider, if you want to do old vine wine, that was like the ultimate in a way, and it kind of just fell in our lap in a way. And then same year we got a call from Michael Martini. That was cool. Bob gets off the phone. I said, "That was Michael Martini?" He wants to sell some Monte Rosso grapes. And it's like that kind of reaction, stunned.
Sure.
Like, wow.
It was like a rock star calling you.
Yeah, it's like we just got called up to the major leagues or something. If you're a ball player,
That's exactly
so
what it is.
So that was 1995. Old Crane Ranch came along, and Monte Rosso, we added it to our other estate wine, which had dubbed Aldo's Vineyard. Black Chicken wasn't born yet. And we had also added a couple little tiny vineyards, one up in Calistoga, and one over in Weinberg, and we had 2 years made wine from an old hidden vineyard in Browns Valley, where there was old vine Zinfandel and Mondeuse, which we dubbed Rafosco, and that was another situation where I had just heard about these grapes being available, and we jumped in on that. We called it Dyer's Farm. And we made a Zinfandel and a Rafosco there 2 years, and then a farming company took it over, and we lost the grapes. But it was that 95, I think, was a really key turning point, because we had a little portfolio. And when you do a few wines instead of just one, people take you a little more seriously as a player.
Sure.
And I think that really helped build our brand and reputation there, and people were really looking at us as now a new force in Napa Valley, Zinfandel.
No, took it seriously. One of my favorites is Sangiovese, and I know I've had yours before. I haven't seen it around as much as I used to, but it's a great wine.
Wonderful.
Underrated, for sure.
Yeah, I like acidity in wines, and Sangiovese has that natural, bracing, refreshing aspect to it that even when it's optimally ripe, it still has balance and elegance. And I love that in wines. I love that in Pinot Noir. Love that in Sangiovese. I had a beautiful Brunello with lunch today that our general manager brought in, and it was about 6 or 7 years old. It's just fresh, a little bit of that dried strawberry, dried cherry, right. Just but delicious with food.
Classic Italian wine.
You got to have them with food. And so Sangiovese was a really off the wall project that Bob's dad started on his own. But it was unrelated to the his Zinfandel program. He just did it on his own. And it's like 1 acre on the Black Chicken Vineyard that we don't even know what the clone is, but it was planted, I think, in 92. And I think our first one, we decided, let's make the wine and see if it's good. It was wonderful. And I think that was 95.
About how many cases?
A few barrels. It's 3 or 4 barrels, maybe 100 cases type of a lot. It's only 1 acre. And we've continued to do it, and people on our mailing list just love it. It's a little bit of an outlier for us, one of those unusual things, but makes things interesting. We love drinking it. It's one of those little hidden gems, I'd say, in Napa Valley.
Dave, one thing I always enjoyed about talking to you is you are a very good storyteller. Maybe that's the journalist in you coming out, but I'm kind of wondering, for all your years in the business, if you got any good story you'd like to pass along that would be legal and we won't get in trouble for?
I'll tell you, a harrowing story. It was 95 when the north winds started to blow, and it was October, and the grapes are ready, and here we're this kind of small operation, and we couldn't get pickers. Everybody wanted pickers because that condition in Napa Valley can happen. It's like a blow dryer type of condition. It was really it dehydrates grapes very quickly, and the bricks sugar levels can go quickly. We couldn't get the grapes in on time, and we couldn't get one of the wines dry because the alcohol, gets so high.
Sure.
The wine gets stuck, and you end up with sweet wine. And so we had dabbled with late pick, but we made a lot of we turned lemons into lemonade, right? That year we made a lot of late pick, and the people love that style of Zinfandel too. So we kind of dodged a bullet and go to Plan B or whatever. There's 2 cliches in a row, but we. But that one had a happy ending, even though it was pretty scary at the time when you're a startup. Just guys with no deep pockets, and you're just kind of vintage to vintage, counting on those wines to be okay. That was a tricky one.
Yeah, it's one thing we always try to make sure our listeners understand. A, you guys are farmers. That's what the game's all about, and how Mother Nature will mess with that. And B, it's not about having millions in your pocket. It's all about what's out there in the vineyard, what ends up in the tank.
Yes.
It's a cash-intensive business.
Yes, it is. It can be a rich man's game. You need a lot of reserves to weather tough situations like that. Thank God, Napa Valley, we have these fantastic conditions for growing grapes every year. But, in Europe, they have hailstorms, rain at the wrong time. Yeah. It can be really devastating in certain areas at times. And we've been really blessed so far that we haven't had any big setbacks, and we've been able to sell through our wines every year. We have a great following with a mailing list in our wine club, and steady she goes. We're not growing rapidly or anything. We pretty much hit a comfortable plateau. And if an interesting vineyard came along, we'd probably jump on it. But we've kind of stayed a steady and slow course in business, and not taken too many big risks. And I think maybe the smartest thing we've done is just bottle good wine. Don't try to put one over on people. They remember the bad ones. And we have a lot of people have a lot of confidence in our brand, and it's a testament to our wine club, or a testament to that would be our wine club. But people just buy our wine without tasting it because they know we're going to put something exciting in the bottle.
When you got a good name, people know it.
Well, to keep a good name, you got to really stick to your guns and do the diligence. You don't start mailing it in. And I can count on Bob to be out there in the vineyard selecting every grape. There's a perfectionist out there, and you need that at this level. And we've got a talented winemaker who he's young but old enough to have war wounds. And we're really, we got a great team.
We have a great winemaker.
Yeah, Tress Getting.
Tress Getting.
Yeah, he's interesting names. People will trip over it sometimes. It's short for Trester. His parents are German ancestry, sure. and they named him after a German drink. It's like an aperitif. Well, you see it when you're shopping in beverage stores in Germany. And
that was meant to be. I wonder if it's pronounced differently though in the German vernacular. And you know what's nice? We've met Bob. Bob's an awesome, very, very nice guy. A lot of fun to talk to. Both you guys are. I think you guys make an interesting partnership because you seem, you get along real well. You both got a sense of humor, and I think it's really cool. You've known each other since you were a kid.
Well, I guess we have some good complementary chemistry in there. I'm kind of the what if guy, and he's that get it done guy. Mm-hmm. And it takes, you got to be thinking ahead and outside the box a little, but you got to also keep your eye on the ball and stay focused on quality. And I think maybe that's the magic that's got us this far.
Yeah, that's great. And when our listeners want to come visit, your tasting room is by appointment, as I recall, right?
Yeah, we have a small tasting room on Big Ranch Road in Oak Knoll District, and our appointment policy is that you got to make a reservation before you come. And our winery was built after 1989, and wineries built after 89 are restricted to appointments only. So yeah, we stick to that. And also on top of that, we like to have a personal experience. Today, people visiting here are hosted by somebody, and they can get these stories and feel a connection, interpersonal connection. So much of this is about relationships and that personal connection. And so it's very intimate, sort of an open air setting out on the porch, a beautiful view of the mountains, and people are very surprised to come and see such a beautiful view right in the middle of Napa, and then surprised by the quality of Zinfandel and Petit Syrah. They just don't know that wines exist at this level because they're made in such small amounts, So it's a really important part of our marketing. People can come and experience the wines.
Yeah, and you're a little hidden away, which makes them that much more fun. Yeah.
If you drove by too fast on Big Ranch Road, you might not even notice we're here.
I've actually done that. And I know you're here.
You're not the first.
Yeah. Dave, also for our listeners, if they'd like to learn about you online, how would they do that?
We have a new website. Good lead in there. We have www.biale.com. Biale. Very easy to type into a mobile phone, too. And, all the stories are there. There's wine club information, how to order the wines, and, background on all of us at the winery. And I think it's really, it's a great site to visit because it's a little different.
Dave, thanks a lot for taking the time. I'm glad we were able to get you nailed down after all this time. Thank you to your daughter, Maggie, for taking care of this. And again, congratulations to her.
Thank you, Ray. It's been a pleasure. Let's do it again.
Learn more by visiting Biale.com.
Thanks for listening, and remember to like us on Facebook. Also, check out our YouTube channel.
Life Between the Vines is produced at Fifth Floor Recording Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Produced and edited by Ray Pfister. Theme song and original music written and recorded by Tim Dondarevo. Our host is Kay Paskoff. Web design by Jenny Holland. Our graphics and website specialist is Lawton Hall. Our web geek is Dan Gieshin. Photos by Jeanette Hernyak. Copyright 2016.